Seiko mod builds, whatever you want to call it. Kind of like, I've done a bunch of videos in the past on Seiko mods, but this is part of a new series like I mentioned on the prior one where I want to show other people's builds so the mod community can, you know, get inspiration or just be judgmental or whatever towards Dwight's build. These are Dwight's watches. This one we'll start off with is more of the quintessential Seiko mod builds that you typically see versus, say, this one, which is a little bit of a special egg here. I'll show that one in a moment. But this one here is using the DLW MM200 case. And we'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit so you can get a closer look at some of these parts as we talk about them. So the MM200 style case, but, you know, obviously for SKX parts. So it is, you know, fitted for all of that stuff. That's why it doesn't look exactly like an MM200. Aftermarket full loomed glass bezel insert. That's this white sapphire bezel insert here. And we will do a loom shot at the end. This one looks really good. Aftermarket beads of rice with Uncle Seiko solid end links. So I don't know if it's a mix and match or if this entire thing is Uncle Seiko, but it fits the watch perfect. It matches really good, and the overall look and feel of this pairing I think is spot on. Well done, Dwight. The crystal, he actually stuck with the Seiko SKX 007, or any SKX, Hardlex crystal. Interesting choice. You usually see the gravitation towards some sort of sapphire with AR coating, whether it's blue or clear or double domed, single domed, whatever. In this case, stuck with the Hardlex. I don't have any problem with that. I think that's a unique way to go. The movement inside, which you can see on the display case back, is the 4R36. So automatic, hand wind, hacking, and it's a day date. So that is a good choice as well. OEM defect. SBDY053 Frost Tuna dial. I don't know where the defect is. If you guys can spot it, go ahead and let me know where it's at. But apparently it is a defective dial in some way, shape, or form. So I'm assuming he got a deal on it or something. So I don't know what makes it a defect. Maybe Dwight can chime in, or maybe you guys spot it because you guys are in the know. The handset is a factory Seiko handset, SNK M83, quote, Grand Seiko hands. But they are OEM, and they're very Grand Seiko looking, nice polished, and then a little bit of loom in between them, but very sharp-edged handset. Interesting pairing. Like these hands here would look more normal on this dial, I think. But in this case, this is the look he was going for, a really nice sharp handset. And then an OEM SKX white chapter ring. I don't know what SKX came with a white chapter ring, but he's claiming it's an OEM. I think there was like a JDM version or Malaysia release or something like that that did have a white chapter, but that would have been a pretty rare one to get. I don't know what else would have had a white chapter ring out of an SKX. So, and then he actually included in the letter a quote story. The inspiration for this build was a Grand Seiko snowflake. That's clearly obvious. Wanted a white dial, so was able to source the Frost Tuna dial from a SBD Y053. The defect is the positioning of the 6 o'clock marker. Ah, so he told me what's wrong with it. The positioning of the 6 o'clock marker. It looks pretty okay to me. The bezel insert was inspired from watching your videos on the Zodiac watermelons. So that makes sense because it would have that same kind of pop to it, right? So that's really cool that he took inspiration from that colorful beast, but then applied it to his desire to have a snowflake Grand Seiko mod build. So there's that guy. Let me zoom back out. We'll pop it on wrist real quick. This video is going to be a little bit longer. I'll try to... This one fits my wrist. The other one definitely doesn't. There it is on wrist. I got to say, it looks and wears great. Again, well done on this one, Dwight, for sure. I do approve on that one. That one's nice. All right, let's take a look at this guy. Now this one, let's zoom back in. Dwight says kind of, he calls it like a Seiko PRX. So you can kind of see that there. It has that vibe to it. The case is a vintage Seiko 7009-876A. The case and bracelet are from the vintage 7009 case. It's obviously banged up and used and everything like that. The dial is from an SPB 301. That's a newer, like 62 MAS style dial, if I'm not mistaken. Very cool looking dial. It's unusual to see this combo in this particular case. Aftermarket brushed hour, hand, and minute hands. So those are aftermarket. It didn't say where from, but they look darn near OEM to me. That's pretty crazy how good the aftermarket and mod companies do. Polished rose gold seconds hand. You can see the rose gold colorway on that. Beautiful. It's not actual gold, obviously. Inside is actually the Seiko NH36 movement. We don't have a display case back on this one, but it does hack and hand wind, which is not something you had back when this watch was done. So I'm sure the older watch had like an earlier variant of the 7S26, which, you know, you had to like shake to get it going and basically just wore it, sort of thing. It did not hack or hand wind the original movement. So aftermarket 4.5 millimeter by 2.6 millimeter crown, because the old Seiko cases have unusable crowns. So I don't know how you figured that out, but some serious mad props. It's little things like that to be able to get something like this built that Dwight had to figure out, or maybe he just found somebody else that had figured it out and replicated it. I don't know, but I don't know how you figure that stuff out. So the backstory is, with all the PRX hype, this is what Dwight wrote. Backstory is, with all the PRX hype, I just never got myself to pull the trigger to buy one. It's the size for me, 35 or 40 millimeter, and it just didn't fit right. Then I found this 7009 case and thought to myself, I could fit an NH movement in that. So I did. Sometimes just experimenting and trying to get these things figured out can lead to some pretty great creations, and I think that's the case here. The size is more suited for what Dwight was looking for. Obviously, he has about a 6.5-inch wrist, because that's what this is sized for. There's no way I would be able to buckle it down. I probably could, but I don't want to do any damage. But here it is on my 7.25-inch wrist. I could easily wear this watch too, by the way. But I think it's awesome that Dwight actually even built this watch. They had the courage and the desire to go after this task. And that's the type of stuff that I want to see. So if you have a Seiko mod that is something unusual, or a design that you kind of created or fabricated that is outside the norm, that you're not going to see anywhere else in any other builds, hit me up. Let's talk, and let's see if we can get it on the channel. I'm just now noticing too how delicate and petite, how thin the seconds hand is with that handset on the snowflake style one. Very good. Well done. Let's kill the lights, check the lume on these guys. That's the other thing with these mods. Like that older one, guaranteed the lume wasn't nearly as good as this. So not only did he create something that is more usable for him, that's a killer combo too, with the dual color. They have that cool blue on this guy, probably some sort of BGW9, and then all the Seiko green. Again, well done, Dwight. Bravo. See you guys on the next vid.